Hello. As a good practice, any table needs a unique identifier to give each entry a unique property, after which it can be found later. Also, this unique identifier will no longer allow duplicate items to exist. If I had a person table with the columns first name varchar and last name varchar, I could enter all my entries in the table. If I had two persons with the same first name and the same last name, I would have had no way to differentiate them. Therefore, to solve this problem, I will introduce a unique identifier. This unique identifier is called a primary key and will be specified from the creation of the table immediately after the column that we want to designate as a unique identifier. We will have the create table person query in which we will specify the ID, first name and last name. We will specify the data type after each column, and also, after the ID data type, I will specify that this column will also be a primary key. A table can have only one primary key, and it can be of any type of data we want, although it is recommended to make it of type int. The only condition is that once we enter an entry in our table, no other entry will be able to have that already existing value in our table as an ID. Let's see an example in Workbench. I will create a new database. Create database, primary key database, and also I will use it. Use primary key database. I will execute both our queries, and now I will create a person table. I will write create table person, in which I will specify the following columns: an ID of type int, a person first name of type varchar of 20 positions, and also a person last name also of type varchar of 20 positions. Let's create our table this way, without specifying the primary key. We are going to enter an entry in our table. We will write insert into person, values, and here I will specify an ID, a first name, and a last name. I will insert this person and we can see that we don't have any problem. Now, if I write select all from person, I can see that I have an existing entry with ID 1, first name Tudor, last name Dumitrescu. Let's also insert this value once again. Now, if I select everything from my person table, we can see that both our entries exist. Also, both having ID 1. This is a problem. Therefore, we will need to make this ID a unique identifier. We will delete our table. We will write drop table person. We can see that our table has been deleted. Now, we will have to modify the creation of our table. We will now create a person table in which we will specify the int type ID. Also, this time, we will make it a primary key. Let's execute this query. Now I will enter my first entry again. We can see that we had no problem. But this time, if I try to enter a person with ID 1 once again, we can see that Workbench will not let us. Duplicate entry 1 for key person primary. No two persons will ever be able to have the same ID, because it is a primary key. We can add another person with a different ID this time, John Smith, and this way we will have no problem. We can see that John Smith has been inserted in the table. Again, if I try to enter again another person with ID 2, I will have a problem. Even though, let's say, I were to change the name. Now, if I were to add another person with first name Tudor, last name Dumitrescu, I will be able to do that by specifying another primary key, another unique identifier. This way, if I select everything from person, we can see that we have two entries with the same first name and the same last name. But instead, each row has a unique identifier that will help us find a specific person.